Kyle Busch saved just enough fuel to hold off or out fuel run his teammate Denny Hamlin, William Byron, and others to get his second win of 2021. And also, he did it only with fourth gear. Earlier in the race, he lost. He couldn't get out of fourth gear. He was stuck in fourth gear. He said that he was having, at first it was a gearbox problem where it kept on popping out of fourth gear, so he had to hold the shifter, but then it turned into it would not go out of fourth gear, so coming down pit road, exiting his pit box, he needed an extra push because he was stuck in fourth gear. It took him longer to get up to speed because he could not go up through the gears, and it looked like his day was finished. It looked like, well, Kyle Busch, at least he tried. Another fast car, but could not get it done, but they were able to get a long green flag run at the end. They had a top 5 car. They were able to get up into 6th or 7th, and then the way the fuel strategy played out, they were 3rd or 4th coming under 10 to go, and they were able to save enough fuel and win at Pocono. A chaotic day for Kyle Busch. Unexpected day after the problems they had with the car earlier, but Kyle Busch gets his second win of the season, becomes only the 4th repeat winner of 2021, and when Kyle Busch wins, you know what we do on this channel. We eat M&Ms because M&Ms are delicious. We have seen plenty of fuel mileage races before. In fact, we see some at Pocono a lot. And the most recent one I can think of was back in 2015 at the August Pocono race that I was actually at. Kyle Busch was the one taking the white flag, but he ended up not making it back around, ran out of fuel. Lots of other guys ran out of fuel that day, and something kind of similar happened today. We saw Brad Keselowski leading on that last cycle with about 45, 46 to go. I think that's when the last restart was, and you know, it was fuel mileage race. Just, you know what that means. So the first 20 laps were kind of calm. You know, everyone was just anticipating, when's it going to happen? When are guys going to start pitting? The guys that know that they cannot make it, when are they going to start pitting? When are the guys who know they can make it? When are they going to go for it? When are they going to say, all right, we've saved enough, go 100% throttle, all that stuff. So that was the first 20 laps, but then with about 20 to go, that's when it really started to set in. We heard William Byron's team come on the radio and say, hey, save fuel, like max save mode. Start lifting early, shut off the engine, whatever you got to do, max save mode. We heard Denny Hamlin's team telling him to save, Kyle Busch's team telling him to save. Anyone that was not going to pit was going to have to save. So we ended up seeing Alex Bowman pit from the lead. We saw Brad Keselowski pit from the lead, Kevin Harvick pit from the top 3. We saw other guys that knew that they were not going to make it. They were like 10 laps short. You can't make up 10 laps at Pocono, especially now that you don't shift at Pocono anymore and brake as much as you used to. But these guys that knew that they had a shot at making it with about a little bit under 20 to go, that's when they started to save a little bit more aggressively. That's when, as I said, that's when guys start coming over the radio and say, hey, listen, you got to start saving now if you want a shot. You got to start saving fuel. And it ended up being a major impact of this race. It ended up changing the results of the race, but Kyle Busch ended up doing it best. And Kyle Busch, if you told us all with 50 to go that Kyle Busch would end up winning this race, I think we would have said you were crazy, because Kyle Busch, he had his problems today. As stated at the beginning of the video, Kyle Busch, one of his pit stops or something after one of the restarts, he was like, the car just popped out of fourth gear. And, you know, he was having to hold the shifter, make sure it stayed in fourth gear so he could go as fast as possible, maintain speed. They had a really fast car. So then they come down pit road, and as they're trying to fix it, Kyle Busch is trying to leave the pits, and the car stalls or something. So he couldn't get out of fourth gear, so they start messing with the clutch. They start sending guys in there trying to figure out what's the problem with the gear, the gearbox, the gear shifter, all that stuff. And it's stuck in fourth gear. And then later on, he doesn't have a clutch. The clutch isn't working, so they had a ton of problems today in the gear area. So, you know, he's stuck in fourth gear. He can't do anything. He's probably praying, no caution, because there's a caution. He can't get a good restart. He can't get a reasonable restart. He's going to cause a crash if he's anywhere up front. So, you know, they were just praying that it stayed green, praying that the fuel mileage would play out. And it did, and it played out in their favor. Kyle Busch gets his second victory of the year. He also won at Kansas earlier this year. And, yeah, wow. I mean, we have had 2 days at Pocono, and we have had 2 incredible finishes, shocking finishes. Two good races, too, Today's race started off slow. They had that invert, but it kind of got strung out early, even at parts of stages 2 and 3. But overall, there was some pretty decent racing throughout the field. As I said yesterday, basically the same thing. The aero package played a factor, but if you were faster, you could usually get around. It might take a little bit longer, but you could get around. We saw a little bit of chaos on some of the restarts, some contact, some, I don't know if conflict's the right word, but yeah, we saw some action today. So another really good solid race, and once again a thrilling finish. Fuel mileage races. I love fuel mileage races. I hope everyone else does, but Pocono, even with stages can't ruin a fuel mileage race here at Pocono. And Pocono, it's gotten a lot of crap over the years for bad races, but provided two good races this weekend, in my opinion, at the double header. So let's go through the results of this race in this chaotic finish. You don't know where your favorite driver finished. We're going to figure that out right now. Kyle Busch gets his second win of the year, gets himself some valuable playoff points. We talk about playoff points in this playoff system all the time, getting as many wins, stage wins, as high up in the regular season points as you can to get as many playoff points as you can to help yourself out later in the season when you're going for a championship. Kyle Busch did that today. Got the most possible playoff points in terms of the available. He got 5 out of the 7. So a good day for him. But yeah, another win on his resume for the 2021 season. More wins than he got last year, but also ends the Hendrick Motorsports 6-race win streak. The last time Hendrick Motorsports lost was May 9th at Darlington, and that was another Joe Gibbs Toyota, Martin Truex Jr. So if we're looking at the top contenders in terms of teams to win the championship this year, Joe Gibbs Racing is that biggest threat to Hendrick Motorsports, and they have shown it. They've won with 3 of their 4 drivers. The 4th one currently leads the point standings, has a ton of top 5s and top 10s. So, yeah, Joe Gibbs Racing is up there with Hendrick Motorsports for the championship favorites this year. Kyle Busch is looking good right now. In fact, I think in the last 6 races, he has 4 top 5s, and his worst finish is 11th. So he's been a little bit under the radar, but, they've been running really well recently, so they're starting to put it together. So really good season so far for them, especially in the most recent weeks for Kyle Busch and new crew chief Ben Bayshore. Second place, Kyle Larson gets his top 2 streak restarted again. I thought, on the white flag when Denny Hamlin pitted for fuel when he ran out and Kyle Larson was second, I was like, what are the odds Kyle Larson redeems himself by some stupid fuel mileage race? And it didn't, but Kyle Larson gets a second place finish. He closed the gap on Denny Hamlin for the points lead. It was only like 4 or 5 points. I think it's down to 4 points right now for the regular season championship, but he did close the gap on Denny Hamlin for the regular season championship. Runner-up finish. It doesn't fully make up for yesterday, I'm sure, but a good finish for them. Third place, Brad Keselowski led 30 or so laps there, staying out. Had to pit with about 10 to go to top off on fuel, make sure they made it to the end. Ends up getting third after all the late race chaos. They were able to obviously run full throttle because they had gotten enough fuel in the car to run 10 laps. But yeah, they were able to get a third place finish today, so a solid day for them. Fourth place, Kevin Harvick, a good top 5 finish for him. Nice few top 5s in the last few races here. Got one at Nashville, got one today. But yeah, good run for them. They pitted with about 15 to go to make sure they can make it on fuel, but a good result for them. Fifth place, Bubba Wallace. The first top 5 for Michael Jordan and Denny Hamlin's 2311 Racing. A really good day for them. Obviously, the fuel mileage helped, but in Stage 1, they finished in the top 10. They got some stage points in Stage 1, so overall, they were actually pretty good all day. I can't remember looking at the leaderboard and seeing them run outside the top 15 on a long green flag run. So they actually had a really good day, and they finally get a result to show for it. The fuel mileage ends up helping them at the end. They were in the top 10 there before all the chaos started, but a 5th place finish is a really good run for them. And they are in contention to make it in on points right now. They can point their way in. It is a little bit of a stretch. We'll talk about this week. We're starting to get into closer to the playoffs. We're going to start talking about it more. So, yeah, good race for Bubba Wallace. A good top 5 finish. 6th place, Ryan Blaney. Good run for him. 7th place, yesterday's winner, Alex Bowman. He led some laps, got another great restart on the inside line late in this race and took the lead, but not enough fuel, so has to settle with a 7th. 8th place, Ryan Preece. Really good race for him. 9th place, Tyler Reddick. Good run for him. Good points day for him. He needed that. 10th place, Joey Logano. 11th place, Martin Truex Jr. 12th place, William Byron was leading with 2 to go when he ran out of fuel. Had to come down pit road. Lost all that fuel pressure. And, yeah, he led some laps today. Won stage 2, I believe. Really good points day for him, but I'm sure he wanted that victory. 13th, Austin Dillon. 14th, Denny Hamlin. He was leading, coming to the white flag, ran out of fuel, was passed by his teammates. 15th, Daniel Suarez was in the top 10 before running out of fuel on that last lap. 16th, Eric Almirola. 17th, Michael McDowell. 18th, Matt DiBenedetto. 19th, Chris Buescher. 20th, Kurt Busch was in the top 5, even top 10, top 5. He was saving fuel really hard, but it looks like he ran out at the end there. 21st, Chase Briscoe, I think he ran out at the end. 22nd, Ryan Newman, I think he ran out at the end. 23rd, Corey LaJoie. 24th, Cole Custer. 25th, Justin Allgaier, substituted for Justin Haley. Justin Haley was racing in the Xfinity race today and was in a very hard crash. Got out of the car, immediately laid down on the ground to catch his breath. He was cleared by the medical team at Pocono Raceway. He was cleared from the infield care center, but just to be safe, just because it was so soon after the Xfinity Series race, Spire Motorsports did not want to risk Justin Haley, risk his health, so they decided to put Justin Allgaier in the car to race for Justin Haley. Hopefully Justin Haley is all right and can go next week at Pocono Raceway in his Xfinity Series race. 26th, Ross Chastain. 27th, Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott, I don't even know how to describe his day. It was kind of up and down, but him and Ross Chastain both got into it with Christopher Bell. There was a late restart. There was a late gamble to see like if guys would pit and try to, pit to top off on fuel to see if they can make it to the end. I think this was that last caution. And Elliott faked like he was going to pit, but he slowed down in the process, so when he came out and actually opted out of pitting, he was passed by Bell. He didn't maintain speed, was actually second on that restart, was stuck behind Bell, and pushed Bell a bit, but Bowman took the lead, and there was a huge stack-up. And Chastain and Bell got into it. Later on, Elliott hit Bell, got some damage, got a flat tire, had to pit. Ruined his day. 28th, Cody Ware. 29th, BJ McLeod. 30th, James Davison. 31st, Eric Jones. Made some contact on a restart and ends up finishing 31st after having a flat tire and some damage. 32nd, Christopher Bell, as I said, made some contact with Ross Chastain and hit the wall, but then later was rear-ended by Chase Elliott. Got a ton of right rear damage, and that ended up ruining his day. 33rd, Quinn Houff. 34th, Anthony Alfredo. 35th, Josh Bilicki. 36th, Garrett Smithley. 37th, Timmy Hill. 38th, Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who had an engine problem. But what a chaotic weekend at Pocono. We saw Alex Bowman win the first race after his teammate, who was looking to make history, by the way, winning 4 races in a row, blew a tire in the last corner of the last lap. Then today, we saw fuel mileage play a major factor, and we saw Kyle Busch end up winning in a fuel mileage race. We saw it was 2 crazy finishes, 2 completely different finishes, and it was a pretty fun weekend overall. We'll rate today's race first. I thought today's race, once again, was a pretty solid race. It was a thrilling finish to the race, really fun finish to the race. I think I'm going to have to give it the same rating I gave yesterday's, an 8.5 out of 10 for me, and the overall weekend, 8.5 out of 10, because that evens out. It makes sense, but really fun weekend at Pocono. I know a lot of you guys don't like Pocono. I like Pocono. It's a unique track. It's got so many different things about it. Obviously it's a triangle-looking racetrack, the tricky triangle as they call it. Obviously, since they've changed the package, the race is different. The drivers have to drive it different, but still a very fun race. A couple thrilling finishes that I really enjoyed. So good overall races, in my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments. Kyle Busch gets his 2nd win of 2021 in a thrilling finish. But, yeah, hope you all have a great rest of your day, great rest of your weekend, and have a good week, and we will see you for Road America.